Oh, I forgot to. Well, there you go. It's not a great way to start off a live stream, especially one that we're going to be posting to like Spotify and stuff, so people can catch up. And I forgot to put the intro video in, so it goes from
Oh
nothing to
yeah.
just us, just me in a beanie and you in a Phillies hat. How you doing, Walt? How's it going?
Doing pretty good,
Excellent.
especially after the big news today.
Well, is there something? Something happened? Something happened? What,
Y-
what, what happened?
Sabres beat the Kraken.
They did. They did. You know what? I'll be honest. I thought the 3-game winning streak like bought them a little time, especially and unfortunately, obviously, emergency pod, Kevyn Adams let go, Jarmo Kekäläinen brought in. Um, really sad to hear about Jarmo's family situation going on. His father passing away. I thought that, along with a 3-game winning streak, compartmentalize that. That's the most important thing. Family, and feel really bad for him, but pushing that to the side and realizing that's the most important thing, but there are also other factors. Um, Thought the 3-game win streak plus that meant we would get a delay in this announcement, but I think the fact that it did come out today, regardless, was that like their mind was made up many days ago. But Walt, we've been waiting for this moment for a while. What were your initial reactions? Was it like me, where I was just like, finally, now we can actually get on with being a. It's like when you shoot an air ball, your next shot, all you want to do is hit something. You don't care if it goes in. I don't care if Yarmo's a good GM. He's been a GM before. At this point, that's a super low bar. They finally cleared it. What was your initial reaction?
Yeah, I guess with all the stuff coming out, and really just people I trust with breaking Sabres news being like extremely confident
Yeah.
in the fact that Adams was gonna get fired eventually.
Mhm.
I was pretty prepared for it. I thought, like, I didn't necessarily think it would happen today, but I did know it was probably coming like sometime this week. So, you know, I was actually on my phone too at work, like right when like the notification dropped, like right when it was posted, and then I was like, it's about damn time. I
It's
just feel
it's
like it's been forever since we've been expecting that notification.
it actually got broken to me by my buddy that I usually break Sabres news to, because I was telling him, I'm like, hey, like if you can come over and help me out while I'm away, you know, be much appreciated, and I'll repay you. I'll buy us some Sabres tickets. We'll go to a game or something like that. He was like, yeah, exciting news that just came out. I'm like, what are you talking about? And next thing you know, there you go. There it is. So I don't know where to start. There's so many things. And that's why we didn't do like a structured episode, because evidently we would miss something, and just we're throwing it all out there. We've been off for a little bit. I've been super disgruntled about the Sabres, really, really not happy about what was going on, and just like this just team just isn't serious about winning, and it just didn't seem like the priority. Um, Walt had a little bit of a computer issue as well, so I kind of used that as an excuse. Who knows? It might have been fixed the next day, but I use that as an excuse to take a little bit off. Just real frustrating times. Um, let's let's just get out, so we don't have to talk about it as much anymore. We will bring it up in future episodes. But Kevyn Adams, your overall assessment when it comes to trades, draft picks, how he handled certain situations, how he didn't handle certain situations, your overall, I don't want to say grade or anything like that, but can you just break down each one of those little categories that goes into being a GM, and just kind of how you think he did? It's also, with me, the caveat that, like, one, he was given an impossible task, because all he had, like, his job was to say yes to the owner and put a positive spin on things. And two, I mean, it almost, and I've been hearing it a little bit more, is like there's so many hands in the pot because he didn't have the experience. He had to bring in all of these voices. And that's something that you would originally think it's great. At least he's hearing people, and there's a lot of different opinions, and they're having these meetings, and they're having talks about all these different things. But where did the buck actually stop? And, was it a group decision, stuff like that? So everything that goes into being a GM, I'm going to try to give you the floor as for long as possible. And, anything that you don't answer, I'm going to kind of try to pry out of you. So the overarching analysis of Kevyn Adams as a GM, and then we'll get into all the Yarmo stuff. So Walt, take the floor.
I do think, yeah, like you mentioned, he's kind of tough to evaluate because, he was thrown into a weird spot. Like he kind of just became the GM because the Sabres are trying to save money right at the start of the COVID pandemic. So they had so much money tied up in entertainment and they weren't really able to predict what was going to happen in the future. So they just fired a ton of people and brought in the cheapest GM that they possibly could. And I think, I really think Tage kind of like saved Kevyn Adams' career as a GM because I don't think if Tage never turned into kind of like the asset he became and they had to go through kind of a harder rebuild after the Eichel Reinhardt era, I really don't think Adams lasts until December 2025 if this team has to, kind of start over.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but at the same time, it's yeah. It could be a negative where you're basically saying like we have someone like Tage on a good contract, and we have someone like Tuck on a good contract, and we have Darlene, and we have Byram, and we have all of these guys, and you said UPL's your goalie and stuff like that, and you didn't build around them good enough, kind of thing. So it's almost like, well, I guess I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I'm just more or less adding that on, basically saying like, yeah, but I will also say like as much as Tage maybe saved his job, I think the goalie situation, and it was his own doing because he's the one that brings in the goalies, but the goalie situation made it even worse. I mean, you got Lindy going out there saying some rather uncharacteristic things the night of Ellis's injury, basically saying like, "There's your answer on like the three goalie situations." It's like, oh, Lindy,
yeah.
I just say that, man. Like, so I almost we'll get to Lindy. Actually, sorry, I was jumping the gun there, but back to Kevyn Adams. What else when it comes to maybe his let's go line by line here. Trading. All of his trades. I can pull them up here if you want, but let's just go off the ones off the top of your head. Josh Norris, Dylan Cousins, Gilbert, second round pick, McLeod for Martin Erat for Philip Forsberg. Who else? Who else did he trade? Obviously, the
Eichel Reinhardt.
Reinhardt, which I will say I'm more or less vindicated when I said like he did the easy part. Selling the best player for parts is the easy part. Now, Kevyn Adams, it's your time to build. And I said that 3 years ago, and now we can go back and say like, yeah, it didn't work out. The hardest part of the job he wasn't able to do. So trades, start there. Your thoughts on all of Kevyn Adams's trades?
Well, I think kind of to start off, like, it's just so hard to pinpoint like which trades he was like really heavily involved in because I do think, just like the Josh Norris trade, for example, like hearing how Seth Appert loved the guy, and even the Beck Malenstein trade, hearing about how his staff was telling him he was tough to play against when he was in the AHL. I feel like he was kind of like a group project GM. He was just like the head of a group project.
Yeah.
And there are like a bunch of other people contributing. Like that's kind of the vibe I got from him. I do kind of like how he, I do think at times he didn't really settle for prices on his assets. So I do think that's a good thing. And I also like how, when it was kind of inevitable that he was going out, he wasn't really trying to do like those Hail Mary trades to kind of try to keep this team afloat. Who knows if like even at like last offseason with that like Constantine Helenius for was like Brian Rust or like whatever forward on Pittsburgh trade went through, like that would not be a good parting gift that he left the Sabres with, like just getting like a standard middle six forward and losing a prospect that's been really good for Rochester this year. So I will give him props for not kind of like just throwing all these Hail Mary passes before he leaves. And I will give him props too for that Peterka trade. I mean, Josh Doan's looking like quite the player so far. He's looking like a guy who you could retool around too. Like he's someone where high baseline level of competence. Like he's someone year after year is just going to be a good player for you. He's not over relying on points. He's just a two-way guy. So I don't know. There's good things and bad things with his trades. Like I don't really think, maybe I err kind of slightly more on the positive viewpoint of things with the trades he made. like I don't really think there are too many like terrible trades. I think there were some terrible value trades. Like I still don't believe in the idea of just punting away second round picks. I do think people are like, we need to win now. We can't have all these prospects. I mean, you could always have second round picks.
You
And I
always
think
need them, especially
Buffalo's
in
a
Buffalo.
market too.
You need
Yeah.
them.
You need
You do.
prospects. I mean, good Sabres teams are built on good value second round picks or picks in the second or third round or later. Like look at Derek Roy, just like Brian Campbell, Jason Pominville. Yeah, just finding this value there. Even like it's just like it because I just think there's too many times where we hear, even from Kevyn Adams himself, where it's like, oh, it's hard to get guys to come here. It's like, then focus on the prospects, focus on drafting. It's like, why are we punting away second round picks and you're going up to the podium telling us how hard it is to get good players to come here?
Yeah, I mean, second for Greenway, just injuries. Just injuries with Greenway, unfortunately. Malenstein, it's like, yeah, like he's a serviceable fourth liner. I like him as like a fourth liner, but I don't know, it's not necessarily like something you can't find elsewhere. Why not take a swing on, again, like just because we brought it up, like a Cole Hudson or Lane Hudson or whoever Hudson, literally any of the Hudsons. I'm pretty sure there's another one coming through, like you said. Go ahead and just take a flyer on a Hudson. Okay. Trades wise, yeah, I would agree. Just kind of going through some of them here. Cousins, the one that's a little bit too soon. I mean, I would say Norris is a better player than Cousins when I mean, they're different
just
players.
that second round pick too. Like once again in that trade, like why was the second round pick included in there?
I don't get it. Something with second round picks. We'll have to go over the trade history of Jarmo to see if he, throws around second round picks like he does Christmas cookies. Brandstrom, Obi Kubel, McLeod for Savoy, Beck Malstein trade. Yikes. Couple picks to move up. Kyle Pozo. Oh boy. Eric Johnson out. Casey Middlestat for Bowen Byram. I think probably the better asset's still Bowen Byram. So I'd say that's probably a good trade.
Yeah, because I think you hopefully they're able to flip Byram for like a good player. Like I don't think you'd be able to flip Middlestat for a good player with his contract right now. Byram, I still think you can, even though Byram himself isn't my favorite player, and he's been having a pretty rough year defensively for the Sabres.
Yeah, man, he's just not he's just not really my biggest. Well, agreed. I'm not going to try to add on to that. I want to get to the next thing because we do have plenty to talk about still with Kevyn Adams. I'm going to hold off on that. The one I wanted to mention was obviously the Eichel move, but just in general of not utilizing the cap space that they did. There's like two glaring things when it comes to like trades or just acquisitions in general. And that is one, not using the cap space that they could to take on bad contracts or whatever it might be. Ben Bishop, Johnny Boychuk to get to the floor. But also it's that offseason after they miss the playoffs by one. Tiny, tiny little trims around the edges, and we're going to try to play more defensively. And then next thing you know, down it goes. The entire offseason was, okay, we got the offense, just missed the playoffs, but we have the offense. Defense. Okay, well, the defense thing didn't work out. Accountability. And then like we didn't really see much accountability last season. What's it going to be this season? This season was like, you need to fire the GM. You need to fire the GM. What's been going on for better part of many years at this point. But at least they did this one.
Like that was one of my least favorite things about the Adams era too, was how he brought up that losing streak last year as kind of an excuse for why that season went south. It's like,
yeah, if you lose, you're probably not going to make the playoffs. Yeah, that's a good
why
point,
does it matter what sequence the wins and losses come in? Like just because all 13 came in a row makes them less meaningful than a loss that came after like 2 wins or 1 win or 3 straight losses. Like why does it
or just like
matter?
the win 2, lose 3, win 1, lose 2, win 2, lose 3.
Yeah, it's like how's that? It's just packaged differently, but it's the same result at the end of the day.
Yeah, polish a turd, it's still a turd, Kevin. So
yeah.
Yeah, trade wise, that's what I really wanted to kind of impress upon people is like it's the trades that he didn't make necessarily, or to get him out of that losing streak, like you said, or winless streak, whatever. It's the trades that he didn't make. The trades, Bone Byram, even because they're like can't find a trade for him, can't find a trade for him, can't find a trade for him. He did pretty well for the Paterka one. I feel like he would have had a much better summer if he got Bone Byram gone as well, or if he traded him as well, and got
I
some
do
kind of
think
package like he got back. I
I think
think
you look
people would want to
before
do that.
that too. And like with Vancouver, with how interested they were in him.
Yeah, right?
Like I know the rumors
Yeah.
were like Patterson potentially to Buffalo, and this was before he had like a trade clause. Now he does. So it's like
Mhm.
if he's able to get like Cousins and Byron for Patterson or just that as a basis of a deal done, I feel like he could maybe still have a job right now, honestly.
Who we will get back to Kevyn Adams, but this is actually something I thought about. It's like, yeah, Bowen Byram's linked to Vancouver. I don't necessarily think that's gone, by the way. Just because they traded away Quinn Hughes and brought in another defenseman. I think it actually might be something to continue to poke at. Who says no? Bowen Byram for Connor Garland, straight up. Who says no? I don't. I'm bad at judging the values, especially of other teams' players. Who says no?
I mean, at
Sabres
this
say no?
point,
Does Vancouver say no? I don't really know. What do you think?
I think it depends what like Vancouver is trying to do, and I feel like that's the hardest thing to kind of
Yeah,
figure out with them. Like, are they trying to win now? Are they trying to rebuild? Like, I know
it
they're
sounds like
so into
they're.
getting a center, but it's
From
like,
what
why
I
are they
could,
trying to win now?
from what I was gathering from some of the stuff I was listening to, is like they're people were saying you need to rebuild. They won't do it. They think they're just going to do a little retool and boom, we're right back at it. And they're like, no, no, no,
Yeah,
you just traded away after trading away JT Miller, after trading away Bo Horvat, after trading away Quinn Hughes. This isn't a just quickly retool thing. It's like, no, teams are going to start calling you about Garland, Demko. Pedersen is a different situation because of his trade protection, but people are still probably going to ask, be like, hey, let's see, like if we were able to get, something out of Elias Pettersson saying like he would waive, what would you go for? So yeah, I mean it is tough to kind of guess at what their aim is. Who knows what their aim is? I think also teams are cautious to not go full Sabres and go full rebuild. I've kind of seen it with Philly, Vancouver, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a little bit of a different situation because you have like generational players on that team. But they're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going
Vancouver's
full
gonna
tank.
Vancouver's pretty much gonna just end up like Calgary, like maybe with like a better youngish players, but it's just like where you're just like in the middle of nowhere. It's just no man's land because
Yeah.
you
Which is
don't have a
tough
good
place to be.
prospect pool and you're have still a ton of vets on your team and you're just
Yeah.
like
Tyler Myers.
yeah, not that good. So I feel like Garland for Byram if they're trying to, kickstart a rebuild and get I know Byram's decent amount younger than Garland. So if they kind of want Byram as a somewhat veteran piece throughout that rebuild, especially on that blue line that's going to be stripped of a lot of talent. I can maybe see it, but I just want to figure out like what's Vancouver trying to do right now.
I don't know what the Sabres are doing right now, to be completely honest, because Jarmo Kekäläinen's interview, or I guess, excuse me, press conference is set for 10:30 tomorrow, which I'm going to release this immediately as soon as I can on podcasts and stuff like that. So I can't say tomorrow, but if you are listening on Tuesday, then it is today. Um, let's get back to the Sabres because if I try to figure out what's going on with Vancouver, I'm just going to
Yeah.
probably pop a vessel. So we did trades. Kevyn Adams drafting. This is more your scene. This is tougher to judge a little bit because when you make trades, especially hockey trades, it's guys that are playing on your roster now. Especially when like we're just really starting to see what's going on with his first draft class. Jack Quinn and all those, Paterka gone. But drafting wise, in your opinion, as of right now, remains to be seen with a lot of these guys. But what do you think? You think it was overall positive, overall negative? Is it something that really bothered you that they went after this certain type of player? Really bothered you they didn't go after this certain type of player? Really good at drafting forwards, poor at drafting goalies, bad at drafting defensemen, good at drafting goalies. What do you got drafting wise for Kevyn Adams?
I'm just pulling up like their draft picks now to have like a full memory. 2020, Quinn at 8 wasn't my favorite pick at the time. Ended up not being like completely awful because at least he's an NHL player and he has produced. Like, I think a lot of people's expectations are even lower than that at the time. But at the same time, you see, I remember that was kind of my big thing at the time. I was like, I just feel like one of like Rossi, Perfetti, Lundell, or Jarvis is just going to be better than Quinn. So I don't understand why you'd go with Quinn there. And looking back at it, I don't know. It's fine. I feel like the Peterka pick that year makes up for it because that was, kind of a home run of a pick in that second round. And, the rest of that draft too, you got 2 7ths and a 5th, so not really expecting anything there.
Well, like the Peterka thing is also one of the reasons to reiterate your point is like, dude, save those second round picks, man. Like, yes, Peterka's, I think they traded up and they gave up like one that was higher up in the second round to get him, but still, it's like save that thing, man, because you don't know. I'd say in the first, it fluctuates. Some drafts is like the first top 60 players, and then there's like the odd one from outside of there, or maybe sometimes it's the top 40 or something like that. But especially if you're the Buffalo Sabres, you're probably going to be in the top 40 for the most part ish, at least by 45 to make another pick. So
they just can't draft in the second too, because that was the other thing I was bringing up. Like the next year, Poltapov and Kisikov just straight up not an NHLer. Poltapov, he can maybe be like a fourth liner someday, I think, in the NHL. I don't really think he has a high ceiling. And, there's a chance he never even comes over to North America.
I'd say it's 50-50 for me right now at this point.
Yeah. Like he's not like a home run, guaranteed to be a Sabre. And then like second round the next year, Topias Linonen.
Owen Power, like, sorry, just to bring up some other guys, like Owen Power, like he was the consensus number one. I was flirting with, drafting other players, but I knew it was going to be Power the entire time. Isaac Rosan, I thought that was a bit of a stretch. They seemed really high on him when it comes to his, speed and shot, especially that is when Olofsson was still on the team. And so they probably were like, Swedish kid that can, Olofsson's not a burner, but he can shoot. And so they saw the same thing with Rosan. I get it. Steven Sardarian, it's a bit of a high pick, in my opinion. It's still third round, 88th overall, so I'm not going to bash them for that.
I don't know if they were trying to like dial in like their analytics department or whatever then, or like I don't know what they're trying to do, but I just remember like just following that draft being like, I never heard of Steven Sardarian. I'm a huge draft guy. And when he went 88th, I'm like, I think I watched one of this guy's games on YouTube like once.
But but like it was still technically like the draft after the COVID draft. So there's probably, we have more info on him because not only were they drafted Sardarian, they got Poltapov and Kisikov in the same one as well, and Novikov. So it was definitely geared towards like these guys still played in Russia and stuff like that. So we just have more tape on them, and that's why we drafted them. So
Sardarian though, like wasn't even like, I've watched so much MHL like around that era, like he wasn't even.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people thought maybe he'd be like a 6th, 7th round pick if he's even drafted. Like he had 30 points in 50 games as an 18-year-old playing on a decent MHL team, and he was like a 3rd round pick. That's just, I don't know. I know they probably watched a bunch of Poltapov that year. And we're like, let's draft this guy too as his teammate. But it's like at 88th overall. I was so upset that year too with Jackson Blake falling in that draft. And like just seeing the kind of player he is on Carolina now, it's like, man, that would be a nice piece to have right now. And instead they picked Sardarian, Josh Bloom, and Oliver Nadeau. And then, Blake goes right after that kind of run of Sabres picks.
Oliver Nadeau, Jacksonville Iceman stud down there. I'm pretty sure that's where he's playing. He's played a little bit.
I think he may be on the AHL now. They got so many movements there, but it's like, I don't know, that draft. I mean, Novikov and Kozak too. They kind of make up for
I will say Kozak,
Kozak's at least an NHLer, the 7th-round pick. Novikov been a good AHLer. I feel like you'll take that with a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
It's just and the rest of the drafts, it's
Savoy, Oslin, Kulik, Lenonen, Nuchev, Mats Lindgren. Didn't they trade Lindgren?
No, I don't think they ever gave him a contract. I think he
signed they didn't. That's right. They didn't sign him. Excuse me.
Yeah, he signed with the Penguins AHL team.
Jake Richard, a bunch of other guys. That 2022 draft is hit or miss. Benson, Wahlberg, Sturbach, Gavin McCarthy, Scott Retzlaff, Konsta Helenius, Adam Kleber, Brody Zemer, Luke Osborne, Patrick Geary, Murtka, Bitkowski. How's Bitkowski doing this season? Okay, getting off track again here, but this is why we didn't have a structured episode, so we could just talk about whatever we wanted.
I do think the thing with this, too, is, like, the guys making these picks are all still here. Like, Kevyn Adams probably had no idea who Steven Sardarian was.
That's true.
Probably didn't know who Melvin Novotny was. Like, the guys that made the picks are still here, so I don't expect their drafting to change too much, and I don't necessarily think their drafting's been bad either. Like, I know people say it's been just smaller players, but you look after the first round, they're like almost exclusively drafting like big guys, like almost to their detriment at times, because I do think there's some better skill guys on the board, and they're automatically default to like 6'5" defensemen. And I like the amount of 6'5" plus defensemen they have in their system right now is pretty insane. And it was a good chunk that won't make it to the NHL.
Last season they couldn't do this, but this season they can point and just slap the table and boom, look at that, Matthias Samuelsson.
Yeah,
this is why we do it, baby. Because if he plays well, you know, this is what we can get. So fair enough. One last category. We did trades. We did drafts. Kevyn Adams, what's probably the last thing that a GM doesn't have to do as much as, you know, the drafts and trades and stuff like that, but public relations. How do you think he did?
I think for me, I think that's an F, because I honestly think that's the reason why he got fired. That was that Palm Trees press conference. They're going to be teaching that in like PR courses of like what not to do. Like that was like a master class of where he kind of let his emotions overcome him there. And you could tell he was like angry. He was upset at the reporters, and it's like
it's a fine line between like being authentic and using that as like a tool, and then that also being like, I can't believe you said that.
Yeah, I mean, when you just have a casual presser in a small market like Buffalo, then within like a few hours you have like Greg Wyshynski like spitting chiclets, like Jeff Merrick, like literally everyone talking about this presser in a negative manner. That's a failed presser, because guys around the league, like they're scrolling through their phones on Instagram, on Twitter at times, especially like the younger players now. They're like more in tune with social media, and they like hear this stuff about like different organizations. And when you're like a guy that's, you know, maybe your agent asks you to waive a clause to go to Buffalo, and you're like, oh, I remember their GM was saying how it kind of sucks there. Where it's like, why would I want to, like, as Kevyn Adams, as a guy from Williamsville, as a guy who played in the 05-06 playoffs, it's so easy to just go up to that podium and be like, I remember playing here in 2006 in the playoffs. I've never seen a hockey fan base like this. I know what this fan base can turn into once this team is good, and it's my goal as GM to get this team back to that level. Like it's that easy to say that. Instead, he's coming up with excuses, talking about taxes and palm trees. And Buffalo's middle of the pack in taxes in the league. Like depending on what you look at, like at worst, they're like the 12th worst in the league. Like it's not something that's crazy, and the weather's not great, but where do most NHLers come from? Like these guys aren't coming from South Beach. They're not coming from Texas. They're not coming from LA. They're not coming from Arizona. Like they're coming from Canada, Sweden, Finland, Russia, places where some places you don't even see sunlight in the winter. They're so far north. And it's like, at the NHL, they're a guy that's born in like the Arctic Circle in Russia, had like a 5-year career in the NHL, and somehow Buffalo's not good enough weather to attract free agents. I just felt like so many lame excuses, and the PR just from that presser alone was just terrible.
Yeah, appreciate everyone that's come in and anyone that has commented. The palm trees press conference is the moment he lost his job. It's the moment he lost a job with the fans. I will say an underrated one for me specifically. I don't think this actually played a part in him getting canned, but bringing in Eric Stahl, the guy who didn't want to be here when you traded for him.
The guy that
now
crushed
all of a
us in
sudden he
the
wants to
06
be here.
playoffs too.
Yeah, and 05, 06 playoffs. You're bringing that team back. Your GM and his little buddy were on the team. I have a half a mind here for Jarmo. Like, he won't do this. And if he doesn't do this, that's fine. It's expected. But if Jarmo came out, be like, yeah, along with Kevyn, Stahl's gone too. Sorry, nothing against you, Eric. Like, as a person, just if we're cleaning the house, let's go ahead and cut off some of the fat here, shall we? So
yeah, I was honestly thinking when they hired him, I'm like, I honestly probably can't think of like player Sabres fans hate more than Eric Stahl. Like, he's got to be like top 100, like most hated, like modern day NHLers. And like
in the Sabres fan base, he's easily top 15. Well, he's easily in the top 20. Lucic, Marchand, maybe like someone like Eichel, Peterka. I don't know. People really dislike like Vander Kane.
But
there's probably some older players as well. Like,
that season just turned people the wrong way too. Because I know I heard that gripe with a lot of fans where it's like he kind of just like looked like he was mailing it in.
Well, it also rubs you the wrong way where he's like openly crying about Kyle Opozo and Zemgus Girgensons. These guys are the fabric of our hockey team. And yeah, and the fabric of your hockey team is ripping apart with like a slight breeze. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
You Kyle Opozo, you did everything for him. And like, look, like Kyle seems like a really good dude. Really sad to hear about some of the things that he had to go through in his career and stuff like that. Hopefully it doesn't affect him later in his life. But the Sabres, they treated you really well after you played like shit. And it wasn't always, because like he just wasn't playing well. It's health related too. But for Kevyn Adams to go out there and start crying over those guys and stuff like that, the way he goes out and treats Eichel, that resonates with. And again, he was probably getting orders from the top, but that's, again, the GM doesn't have the cojones to say no to the owner. That was part of the problem.
Those beyond blue and gold videos are probably what got him fired. Because I know someone that was like
killed
on the videos, like commented on it, and I felt bad because I'm like, it's not the production quality. Like, I feel bad like looping those people into it.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Literally just
I hate these.
Yeah. It's just like the cast. Like, I honestly cannot watch those things because as like a Sabres fan, like hearing some of the stuff they'd say, I'd be like, this team's like beyond screwed if this is like how this team actually thinks
or
about hockey related decisions. Yeah, it's just like
we're all thinking of the same one.
Yeah, it's like ignorance is bliss sometimes. Like, it's almost like I'd rather not know what's going on behind the scenes and just kind of hope they figure out versus watching those videos where it's like, oh, wow, yeah, they honestly have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, with like a normal NHL team, I'm super interested in the behind the scenes. With the Sabres, I do not want to know how the sausage is made. Just freaking get it. Just get to the effing playoffs. I don't care. Just get there.
Yeah.
Anything else on Kevyn? Like, I don't know. I will going to compartmentalize the feels bad for him. He was very well compensated for a job that he, quite frankly, didn't qualify for. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he's still somewhere within the Pegula organization. It might be one of those things where he's like, look, if you're going to let me go from like this job, like I'm just going to go try to find something somewhere else. But I wouldn't also be surprised if he was still getting a paycheck from Pegula beyond, this season because contract's up, but beyond this season, doing something else, being, maybe not
serving up those like 2-foot-long nachos behind the.
He'll be serving up
beer savers.
He'll be serving up like mojitos on Pegula's second yacht. I was just like, all right, sick. Anyway, I do kind of, feel bad because, like, someone did lose their job. He is a Buffalo guy. Obviously, it does, mean something to him. But at the end of the day, man, like, you got let go from a job that you weren't qualified for. I've been let go from a job where I'm like, "This isn't gonna work out." And, like, quite frankly, I waited for them to let me go, and it was very clear it was gonna work out. Really terrible organization. They just keep I'll be honest, they keep getting sued, and I keep getting things like, "Hey, come into this lawsuit with me." So, like, obviously, I wasn't always completely
You
the
work for the
problem, but, like,
Sabres?
yeah, pretty much, yeah, but, yeah, so, like, but just it just wasn't again, I'm not gonna go off on a long tangent. I almost went off on one there and trying to relate those 2 things. It just at the end of the day, wasn't qualified for it. Seems like a decent guy, like, if you met him at the bar or something like that, like, and you were just chatting with him or, like, met him at some function, like, seems like a personable guy, I guess, but PR gaffes and just, no success. Made the playoffs, no one would care. So, fortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Any parting words before we finally start talking about some positives in Yarmo?
Yeah, I really just think that's kind of the case with Kevin. Like, I know as a person,
Sorry
like,
to
just by oh, yeah, he does have a contract through next season, so I don't know if
Really?
they yeah, he somehow had another year on the deal. It somehow came out with, like, The Athletic, and
Wow.
I
I
was
didn't
very
man, I read the
confused.
was that must not have been in the article I read. That's wild. Well, hey,
Well,
Pagula.
no one knew about this until, like, 2 days ago. I mean, the Sabres obviously knew about it, but it's like, when when did he get this extra year on his contract?
Well, you know what? If you're still gonna be getting paid, I don't know, maybe take a vacation to, I don't know, maybe somewhere down south, preferably with a certain type of plant coming out of the ground, let's just say. May or may not have coconuts on it. Anyway, sorry, your parting words before I read that and put that up, but your parting words on Kevyn Adams and just kind of the tenure that he had. There'll be more to talk about this, but just for now.
I honestly, I just think it's disappointing, his tenure,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a tenure where it's like, this guy might not ever get another chance at a position like this again, and I would
Like that
hate to
again?
have
Yeah.
I
Maybe
with
like the
another
GM of
team.
like Pee Wee team, or like maybe like the GM of like a ECH. Like he could
I
be
could
like a
see, like, a
GM of another
junior
team.
hockey team or something, maybe.
Actually, I think he wouldn't be terrible at that, like the Erie Otters or something like that.
Yeah, like, he's a good, like, people manager. It's just he kinda got dragged out of the business office, and, like, I don't I don't know. I mean, I would just hate to have this go down as my legacy if I never get another NHL job again, because he's not gonna be looked down upon positively amongst Sabres fans. I think there is, like, one saving grace where I do think, like, say Sabres pull off a miracle, win a cup 6 years from now, like, Josh Doan and Zach Benson are big pieces of it. Like, that's really, like, the only way he could save himself, but, yeah, as it stands right now, it's like, I would hate for this to just be my legacy, but he was given so much leeway, so much time to turn things around. I really, struggle to feel bad that that'll be his
Yeah.
legacy, because
Yeah.
it was staring him straight in the face. Like, he coulda ran a poll on Twitter and, kinda run the team better at some point. So it's like, I don't know, eh, just not a good era of Sabres hockey. Maybe the worst era ever in Sabres hockey history was,
Yeah.
he's not the only one that's a part of it, but he was a GM during a huge chunk of the worst era in Sabres history.
Between honestly, from his entire tenure was like the most embarrassed I've ever been as a Sabres fan. To the point where like
Yeah.
this season, like I said at the beginning of this, some people might not have heard, like I think I tweeted it basically. It's like, I'm not out yet. Not out on the Sabres, still gonna be here. Like I still watch every single game. It's just the way it's going to be. But like I see the door. And like I could like if this like if something doesn't happen here, I might start taking a step towards that. Cause like it's like I'm getting older. Like what am I doing here? Like at points started to feel like a waste of time. And like I never thought I would ever think that way. But this is definitely a little bit of a rejuvenation for everyone. Again, like no matter what was going to happen, I was still probably going to watch every single Sabres game. But like, just like mentally checked out and just being just like a
Yeah.
passerby is kind of where I was headed. And luckily, this has kind of pulled me back in. But yeah, it was getting ugly. So
It's still kind of like that though. Like I really wish
yeah,
like you could just tune
yeah,
into a Sabres game like February 7th, like a Tuesday night, and actually watch the game and care about the outcome. Like that's just a feeling that's been robbed.
standings watching or like
Yeah, it's been.
watching other games to see how it goes or something like that.
I
Like,
just don't even know what that's like anymore. I know 22-23. I mean 22-23. You didn't even get that feeling because it looked like they're firmly out of the playoffs and they go on a crazy run.
yeah,
So like throughout
you
the
got it
whole
for like a
thing, you
week.
weren't that confident.
Yeah,
So
you got
yeah,
like the scoreboard watching for like a week and didn't really get it for like a month on end and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
oh yeah, it's really bad era, really bad era. And technically, like it's just one person, and Yarmo's not going to be able to turn this thing around in half a season. They're going to make the playoffs this season. Quite frankly, depending on what his ideas or like how bad he thinks the rod is, or like who he's high on, who he isn't, I don't necessarily have an expectation for next season. My expectation is always to make the playoffs, but like I don't know what to expect, kind of thing. Like as a standard, as a fan, my expectation playoffs. I think people get it. So, getting into some of the comments, Pagula's going to get Adams a job at Penn State. I mean, again, like a college program or like a junior program, if he really wants to kind of get his feet wet there, like I think that's a possibility. Maybe. I'll be honest, I don't really care at this point. But yeah, if someone asked me, then I could say, maybe some like junior B team out in. I was
Yeah,
looking
because
up like junior, like the AJHL and like the BCHL. I was looking up ones for like Saskatchewan and like Manitoba, and I'm like, go like manage like a junior B team in Manitoba or something like that. Shows how much you really love the sport there, big guy.
that's honestly hockey in its purest form, just like junior B in the middle of Canada.
Yeah,
If you're able to build a winner there,
you can do anything.
yeah.
You put Eric Stahl in our organization twice. He deserves redacted. Yeah, I mean, appreciate you not actually putting it out there so I can put it on the screen. Way to self censor yourself there. Appreciate that. I actually let one slip earlier today, so I think we all get one this episode. So Walt's got one in the bank. You have one cuss word in the bank, so use it wisely. Yeah, just not a good look, man. Just optically, just a bad look. So, 42 minutes in, let's really start to talk about Jarmo. What do you like about Jarmo? What are some of your hesitations? And we can get into some more. I have a bunch written down. Some we've gotten to, some we haven't. But just your thoughts on Jarmo. Please take the floor. I've been talking way too much already.
Oh, well, I mean, the thing I like about Yarmo is that he did kind of turn around a Blue Jackets organization that, really struggled just to make it to the playoffs. Like, wasn't in the biggest hockey market. Like, not too different than the Sabres situation now, where it kind of just looked hopeless at times. Then, that Blue Jackets team, like, they had to move on from Rick Nash at one point, and it's like, what do we kind of do here? So I do think he did a good job turning that franchise in the right direction. Like he made it to the playoffs a bunch of times. I know he only really won like one like real playoff series because I'm not really counting the bubble series because that was just like a
No,
5-game series or whatever.
no,
But he
I
did
wouldn't either.
win.
Yeah.
He did win like that series against the Lightning, which was impressive. And it really wasn't his fault that team fell apart. Like it was kind of just the guys didn't want to stay there. Their best players were guys that wanted to play in like either a warmer climate or a bigger market. And that's not always the case with hockey players though. We've seen guys stay with smaller market teams, stay in colder climate teams. Like even if someone like Connor McDavid, like extending in Edmonton, like Edmonton's not too different than Calgary, but Edmonton hasn't really had a problem getting guys to extend there. So I do think Yarmo's legacy is kind of tainted a little bit by guys just wanting out of Columbus. And, maybe the GM plays some role in that because they could try to convince guys more to stay there. But
He took swings,
yeah, he
and
took swings.
correct me if I'm wrong, but like he signed Johnny Gaudreau before his
Yeah, no,
tragic
that was
passing.
huge.
So like, no, I didn't have him. When I remember seeing that, and like, honestly, I was like really. I know it's weird, but I was really excited was excited for Columbus because that's like another small market team can sign someone like that, and like Sabres, blah blah. Really happy. I was like, good for you, Johnny. Like a little out of the way. Everyone kind of thought like, what was it, like New Jersey was like a front runner, or just kind of like back in that general area, or like what was it, like the Islanders or something like that? I think was high up there too.
And New
And I was
Jersey
just
and
really
Philly
excited
were,
for.
I think, were the top two.
Yeah, which like he was from there and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
yeah, I will say Gaudreau would have been would have looked really good in a Flyers uniform. I mean, rest in peace to him. It still sucks that he's just not with us, but I mean, shout out to Jarmo for making that kind of move. I mean, again, what was it, Provorov? I think was the deal that he made where he gave up like a boatload, and Provorov's like, okay, but not
Yeah,
someone you really
that
want to
trade
sell the
was
house
kind of
on.
where I was like, really
Yeah,
just
who
the
else?
tail end of his tenure in Columbus was kind of concerning because he was just like he's building like a stockpile of like mediocre defensemen. Like he had like just so many guys on there that I didn't think were too great. But I mean, Columbus is looking pretty good now, and he did bring most of those pieces to Columbus. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at his career, some of the trades. Um, he's got an interesting backstory. Oh, look at him go. Okay, so let's go over some of the things that, again, his press conference hasn't happened yet. I kind of wish that we were doing some of this after that, but you know what? We're going off of what we have now. I wrote down just some of the big questions facing Yarmo is the Tuck situation, three goaltenders, and just in general, it seems like they kind of have a logjam in general for forwards, but I would kind of say mostly for bottom six. And I very much wonder who's going to be on the outside looking in on that. And like, what does he think about guys like Osland and Rosayan? And who knows, even, oh my God, Kuntar, Trevor Kuntar. I almost forgot his name. Shout out to him having his first NHL game. Those are the biggest questions that I have. So let's go down to first. What do you think about the Tuck situation and Yarmo's spot? Like, it's really tough for you to determine. Like, this is what I think Yarmo would do. What would you do? Excuse me.
Yeah, I still think for me with Yarmo, I do think his hands are kind of already on like a lot of things this organization has done so far. Like I don't necessarily think there's going to be too many changes because I do think he played a role in really just a lot of stuff this organization. Just making sure you're not choking over there.
Yeah, man. I'm not immune to choking on my own spit. And I will say, luckily, this isn't the case, but I will say, just a off-topic thing, big meeting on Zoom. I work from home on Zoom with my entire company. They're going over all these different things. Not my entire company, my entire division and an entire office. We're on Zoom. I take a massive swig of water, immediate wrong pipe. Water's going everywhere. I run. Luckily, I was right next to the kitchen. Run to the kitchen, spray water everywhere, coughing, and it was one of those like wrong pipe coughs where you can almost like feel the water in your lungs. I will never top that. So me choking on my own spit, that's nothing to me. Embarrassing, absolutely, but that's who I am. I'm an embarrassing person. So, yeah, not the first or last time that's going to happen. So appreciate the concern.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, just talk about Yarmo. Like, I do think he's played a role in some of their decisions already. So I don't think there's some things that probably won't be too different at all. I mean, I guess like this comment right here, like this made me kind of think about it. I don't
that's
know
exactly where I'm at. That's funny.
I'm still not convinced Yarmo has played a huge role in the three goalie situation. I'd love to think that was all Adams doing, but I really hope Yarmo wasn't a part of the three goalie thing because it seemed to really upset Lindy Ruff. And, it kind of led to some nonsense roster decisions where you have a guy like Noah Osland who's clearly one of your best forwards this season, and he gets sent down.
Good, man. He's just good. He's
Just
solid.
to keep. Yeah, it's just
I like watching him. You can see the gears turning while he's playing. He's just fun to watch, and tough because he's not a big hitter. He's not scoring a ton of goals, which he did score fair enough. But like, I don't know. I just really like watching Noah Ostlund.
Yeah, it's like if you get rid of that reward system in a hockey team too, like when your
Yeah.
NHL roster isn't the guys that are playing the best, isn't the guys that are playing the best in Rochester, it's like what's even the point of even playing games at that point if you're not putting out the most competitive roster? Because like
Well,
what are they saving these three goalies for? Like
well that
they're not even crazy young either.
that's what I was getting so upset about is like, I don't know, and it really just goes back to Terry, to be honest. But it's like, yes, and they say it, and I believe it to be true. But like, winning's important to them. It's not the most important. Winning to fans is the most important. End all be all. I don't care how much money you're losing, how much money you make, blah blah. Just win, 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 win. Just win. Well, hasn't been happening. So like that's, I feel like I was about to talk myself into a circle again, so I actually kind of want to stop myself. I'm doing better about not going off on long tangents and really trying to get us back into where we're going. Also, not to choke on spit, but that's a different story. But it's just, I'm kind of hung up on the whole, like, I do disagree on the Jarmo not having a hand in on the three goalies thing. Is that what you were basically alluding to?
Well, I'm just saying I hope he didn't
Okay.
because
Okay.
I'd love for that to go away, but at the same time I do think Yarmo has already been making decisions since he's been brought in, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did
Yeah, that's
have a
true. I
hand in
agree with,
that.
yeah. Okay, I agree with that he's been making decisions. But again, and this, it's like a lot of cooks in the kitchen kind of thing. He was one of the cooks, and like, does that just naturally, like, again, Kevyn Adams was just one guy. The entire structure's been built over what, 5 years as of right now? What's it going to be like, oh, by the way, this was a group project these past 5 years? Not anymore. And I was part of that group project? Not anymore. He could do that, but like, will he? I don't know. So yeah, that's the three goalie situation, tough. Tuck situation. Um, I'm still, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think I'm almost justifying trading him because you don't want to let him walk for nothing, and Josh Doan kind of makes up for what Alex Tuck is. Different players, Tuck's more of a forechecker, penalty killer, and a little bit higher offensive upside, but kind of in the same breath, and maybe try to use that money that you'd spend on him elsewhere,
Uh,
but actually spend that money.
yeah, it's just an impossible situation with Tuck because
Yeah.
I think you could give me either answer, trading him or re-signing him, and I think you'd be right with both answers. Like,
I could do what everyone's looking from a podcast host and just sit on the fence on that all day long.
yeah, because I don't want to have to pick what they're gonna do with him because he's gonna be irreplaceable. I do think if he leaves, like you're gonna have to be looking towards like somewhat of a retool where you're not gonna be gunning for a guaranteed playoff spot or close to a playoff spot for a season or two. And I do think if you bring him in, it's a lot harder to retool because then you're gonna have to, try to build to be that playoff team, try to build to be that winner, and you can't keep a guy like Tuck around and be like, all right, we have some injuries this year. We're just gonna finish bottom three and try again next year. Like you're gonna have to be going in all in constantly.
Yeah. I agree. Unfortunately, I mean, it's just a really no win, but please win situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Here's something that's kind of alludes to what Jeff's saying here. Curious to see like how it goes with the Finnish players in the organization. There's not a ton of them, but you got Hellenius and you have UPL. Be interesting if like Yogi Haru is still around here, but specifically Hellenius and UPL is like, was he starting to bang the drum about like, why is this guy still down in Rochester, like he's saying here? This also alludes to my point about the the bottom six forwards just being kind of log jams and stuff like that. Sorry, Jack Quinn, like the way he's playing, just he's just like in a good team. He's not a top six player right now. He's like on like a third line maybe, which I still don't understand how someone can like have such a wicked shot and be so like talented in that way, but can't handle the puck. I've never
Yeah,
seen someone mishandle passes and pucks since I played. And that's saying something because I sucked. So it's one of those things like
it's just a numbers game. He's just going to be pushed out numbers wise, I think. I think elsewhere where they got more room to try out someone like him, not too different than like what Victor Olofsson's been doing on like the different teams he's signed with. I think Quinn, while he doesn't have Olofsson's shot, I think he could be a guy where if a team's like desperate for some, just little flashes of offense, could be willing to give him an opportunity. But in Buffalo, when you got guys like Hellenius, Rosane, Oslin coming through the system, like Yuri Kulik, hopefully he comes back at some point. That's gonna be another name that you're gonna have to fit on this roster.
Yeah.
It's just I don't see where some of these guys fit in, especially with the new GM that doesn't really have crazy attachments to these players. Like Jarmo Kekäläinen didn't draft Jack Quinn, so and he does have interesting attachments to guys I'd be interested in trading for. Like you got Igor Chinikov on the Blue Jackets. You have Kent Johnson, who's been, I think he even got like pushed down to like their bottom 6 at one point. Like at times this year, he's been struggling to get ice time. Yeah, like they haven't been playing him a lot some games.
Every season with him.
Yeah, so it's like is that a guy like Jarmo kind of tries to go back in for? Because a lot of people compare him like. Not that I agree with it, they compare him skill set wise to Jack Quinn, but I think Kent Johnson could give you what Jack Quinn does, but a lot better. And
without looking at their contracts, would you do Jack Quinn for Kent Johnson right now? I have no idea what their contracts are looking like. Easily, yeah, same. Just for the change of scenery. Like, I don't know, just a change of scenery. Like, no, I've made it well known that I love a nice Jack Quinn cut to the middle and literally throw your body into, ripping that shot. But like, I'm so tired of watching you just get manhandled by someone smaller than you in the corner. It's just like, I can't do this anymore, man. I just can't.
Yeah.
Jeff is really starting to bother me because we are literally on the same wavelength. Might as well just take over my spot here on the Sabremetrix podcast. Yeah, this is in reference to Alex Tuck. If it is under 10, keep him. If it's over 10, trade him. That's kind of where I'm at too, to be honest with you. Again, he's going to be on an expiring contract. And as we've seen, yeah, Scott Lawton, fair enough. But like most rental acquisitions are underwhelming as compared to like many years past. I think for a couple of years now, it's been pretty brutal at the trade deadline. So look, like if it is true, and I forgot to mention this on our last episode. What is the worth of just keeping Tuck around for the team just for like, here's another year where we're selling the guys and selling guys that mean a lot to the locker room or mean a lot to the team or whatever? Like, how does that play into it? Do they just say, look, like we're really not getting enough in these trades to justify trading him? Like, does that play into it too? But I'm pretty much with Jeff here too as well. Like, if you want double digits, like, I'm sorry, man. Like, unfortunately, I think we have to move elsewhere. And like, I will still blame the Sabres for not doing that because they didn't get this done when they could have had this for likely single digits. Any thoughts so Walt?
Yeah, I think it just depends on, give me like 10, 15 more games, I give you a better answer. But I think if, they have a winning record 15 games from now, I'm somewhat willing to give Tuck a blank check and just seeing what we could do. If they're well below 500 after 15, 20 games, I'm fully aboard, like just a quick retool, like kind of see who wants to stay here. And
there's no other way. There's no rebuilds in Buffalo anymore. There's no rebuilds. They're retools at best. They're retools. And that actually leads me, thank you, to my next point here. And we're about an hour in, so we will cut it off somewhat shortly. We do have plenty more to talk about, but yeah, let's do it. Tier list of your untouchables. Who do you trade? Who is it like, give me a good deal and I'll trade you? Who is it like, give me something and I'll trade you. And then like the fourth tier is just like, I will pay you. I will give you a 5th round pick to take this player on. If we want to just start rattling some names off, I'll just
I
even
think,
go
I
down the
mean, if we
roster.
just use this comment and just talk about Tuck again, like in terms of like a trade return with Tuck, like what I know for me, I wouldn't be looking at just current roster players if I were to move Tuck, because I think if I were to get to the point where I were to move Tuck, I think I'd be looking more towards, that retool, like kind of punting the ball down the road a little bit. I think if I'm trying to win now, I think I'm just keeping Tuck, because I don't think it's impossible to keep here if you pay him. Like, I don't think you'll have to pay him anything insane to keep him here. Like, if he didn't play these few years for the Sabres, if he wasn't from Syracuse, you're not getting a player like him in the open market to come to the Sabres unless they make it to the playoffs a few times and aren't the Sabres anymore.
I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but I also want to put out there for the next 15, 20 games, especially home games on how it goes. I want to see, and like this is nothing against the fans, but he along with Kyle Pozo were some of the most outspoken when they stopped doing the salutes
Oh
to
yeah.
fans at games. Doesn't go well. Fans are booing. He doesn't seem to like that. He might tell you straight up, like, look, guys, I'm out kind of thing. Like, I'm not resigning here. And then you have to. There's just so many scenarios. Who knows? Jarmo might not be a Tuck guy. Be like, look, I respect you, appreciate you, but well, I'm going to get you going and we're going to move on. He could be a massive Tuck guy and be like, 11.5 sounds good. Sign the paper. I don't know. With Kevyn Adams,
Yeah.
you could try to predict because you're like, what does Terry want? Because that's probably what Kevin's going to do. With Jarmo, it's just like, I hope it's like, yeah, I mean, Jarmo is going to be like, hey, by the way, Terry, this is what I'm doing. Make sure you sign the checks. That's the hope. That's the goal, is for him to be like, thank you for being the bank. Shut up, leave me alone. We'll give you your little ceremonial seat in the draft room, and I'll let you know when we're looking good for the playoffs, kind of thing. Focus on your new place.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
hope.
say, yeah. I was gonna say, like, in terms of players, like bringing that back up of guys. I mean, yeah, once again, it all depends on like what the next like 20, 25 games look like, as crazy as that sounds. But
Yeah.
I think, someone like Owen Power, like I'll always be someone that I feel like defends Owen Power, at least compared to some other people, because I do think there's some criticism against him that's unwarranted. Like
Oh, well,
people are acting
let's
people
talk.
yeah, I mean, people are acting like this guy's on ice for as many goals against as like Byram and Timmins, when he's clearly not. Like a completely different tier. He's like towards the better end of Sabres defenseman in terms of goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. So I do think there's some narrative with him that's I just don't think it's correct out there. So, I know people will attack me for being an Owen Power defender, but I mean, I'm going to defend the guy because I do think in trade proposals, I see him and Byram, Power and Byram are used like interchangeably. I can assure you, around the NHL, these guys are not interchangeable discussions. Owen Power carries a lot more value in these trade discussions than someone like Bowen Byram. I think Bowen Byram, you're probably looking at like a Zachary Bolduc guy, that tier player. I think with Owen Power, you're looking at like a top six, like a legitimate top six forward at a minimum. I think with when you're moving someone like him, so I think
It,
that's kind of the big difference for me.
I'm curious to see what Jarmo thinks of Owen Power, because quite frankly,
Yeah,
this season and like the analytics for him aren't that bad. I gave him praise in the beginning of the season. It seemed like he was playing with a little bit more jump. Dude, there is literally no fire in that guy.
yeah. There's
This is
not.
there's just no fire in this guy. And I'm sorry, like, to pull yourself out of what the Sabres need, I'm starting to think they can't win with this guy. And like when so many NHL defensemen and NHL alum are like, this guy is brutal. At some point, I'm like, okay, enough people are saying this where I'm starting to be like, they might have a point here. I am not going to go as far as like he's a terrible defenseman. He's a soft, and then people. Luckily, some of these older heads stop themselves before they start saying like slurs about the poor guy. But like, it's bad, dude. I'm sorry. It's a mentality thing. It has nothing to do with his size, stature, skills,
I still
intelligence.
think though,
Nothing. It's just you can't, dude. I'm sorry. You can't be that soft. You just can't.
it
And
still sounds like Sam
says
Reinhart
that.
to me though. Like as much as people say that, like I don't think Reinhardt's a guy that plays with a ton of fire. He's just extreme. He's smarter than everyone else on the ice and just better than everyone else on the ice.
But his skill is more beneficial than Powers is because he's a defenseman. Powers a defenseman. Like Sam Reinhart doesn't need a fire because he's a forward and he scores. Power isn't scoring. And like, yeah, the analytics are good and he's good at breaking the puck out. Again, I'm not saying he's like the worst defenseman, but like he's not the guy. And a good thing that the Sabres have a guy in Dahlin, but like, dude, Owen Power does not have the fire in his stomach. He just doesn't. And I'm really starting to turn on that part of his game because I still recognize that he's a good player and he has tons of potential and stuff like that. But dude, I'm sorry, like I need more fire from him. I just do. You're on a massive contract. You're supposed to be a guy, and I'm curious to see what Jarmo thinks because it's getting on my nerves, man. He's there, but he's not. He has the guy tied up, but he doesn't. You're a defenseman. You're a defenseman. Defense first, man. And when you're getting bullied by guys that are smaller than you on a pretty consistent basis, it pisses me off, man. And that's why I think there's a difference between Reinhart and Power, is because Reinhart can do that because he's a forward. Can't do that as a defenseman as much. Again,
I
I'm not
still think
totally out on him.
I just don't. It just doesn't show up in the numbers though. Like I hear this all the time. How he's not tying guys up. How they're scoring a lot of goals. I mean, they're. It's just not. Where is it in the numbers? It's just not showing up at
But
all.
it's
Like
your
I
eyes.
think that
Like
that's
I'm a
Byram and
I'm a
Timmins
eyes
that are
and
the two.
analytics guy. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Well,
talk over you there.
well, no, I was just saying that Byram and Timmins are the two guys that can't tie guys up, and they're playing them a lot every game.
I'm gonna go with this. Because again, I'm trying to insist that I am not out on Owen Power. I'm starting to down the hierarchy, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it, but I do want to see that. And another thing that leads me into, I think I had it written down here, notes, baby. What does this mean for the coaching staff as well? Matt Ellis, everyone wanted him gone. Oh my God, what's their Marty Wilford? What does that mean for? And I put a prediction out there. And actually, this might be a decent place to end it, unless we want to keep fighting about Owen Power, because I will meet you by the flagpole. I will lose, but I will meet you by the flagpole. I'm excited that we disagree on something for once. But what does that mean for the coaching staff? Seth Appert, Lindy. To me, Lindy just sounds over it. He just sounds like this isn't going to happen. I don't know. Just some of the comments he's made recently, the 3 goalies thing, the comment after Ellis's injury where you're like, geez, Lindy. I just, it could be one of those things where who knows actually what his contract says, but I believe that his contract is up at the end of the season. Could it be one of those things where he's like, look, like if it's going to happen anyway, and we're not like in a playoff spot, or it doesn't necessarily look like we're going to be in a playoff spot because, yeah, they might be 7 points out, but look at all the teams that they have to jump over. Not an easy feat. Do I just do this now and let Seth take over now so we can start implementing things for next season? The move to get rid of Kevyn Adams wasn't for this season. It was for the next seasons. Could that be the same thing with Lindy? Lindy's like, look, still part of the organization, senior advisor, handing it over. Like, that's just my theory. No basis in whatever, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if this guy has any ties to Seth Appert, we're right back at square one where this guy's just a Terry Pagula puppet. Like, I think that's kind of where I'm at this point, where if he does change a coaching staff, which I do think, I think it's as simple as if the coaching staff's back next year, they made it to the playoffs, so they miss, I think everyone's gone. And with everyone's gone, and like if they're still looking internally, like Jarmo got hired this summer. He shouldn't even know who Seth Appert is. Like he shouldn't even know who these guys are. And at this point, a lot of the younger guys that came through Rochester when Appert was there are like moving on to another team. Like Paterka, one example, he's not even in the organization
Quinn,
anymore.
yeah, seems like he's
Yeah,
on
Quinn
borrowed
might not
time
even
until
be
he starts doing
either.
something.
And it's
Yeah,
like the guys that are all fairly new, like McLeod, Josh Doan, Benson, like these are all like somewhat newer players to the organization. If I'm Yarmo and I actually have free reign on everything, I'm bringing my own guys. Like this guy's been around the NHL since the 90s
Torts,
as a European scout for the Senators. Like, like
Torts, it's happening.
I hope I hope that's not the case, but
No, same here. But
yeah.
I think it's when it comes to Appert, I think in his defense, or I guess in really any like head coach's defense, I think it is a little bit more people management, expectations management when it comes to players. We'll get to that. I saw that too, but it's not as X's and O's, and people were very upset with the power play, which has gotten a little bit better. But just special teams in general, it's what Marty Wilford. People don't necessarily think he should have a job, but the only reason he has a job is because of the PK. Shout out Jeff. It is more of a like less of an X's and O's and more of a like overarching concepts and um almost like morale patrol and like disciplinary stuff and things of that nature. That's where I think they might be like, look, it might not work out necessarily if he's an assistant coach where he has to do the X's and O's and really teaching guys and stuff like that versus being the head coach where he has to deal with all the other stuff. Well-spoken
Yeah,
guy, decent in the
it
media.
just seems so forced though to me.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh,
all the
absolutely. Yeah.
I still
Oh
feel like
yeah.
Apper's a great hockey guy, but I feel like
Yeah.
everything they've been doing promoting him so far has just seemed forced because it's not like
Mhm.
Rochester won like 6 Calder Cups in a row. Like
Yeah, they
their
did
claim
fine.
to fame is
They
they
did pretty well.
lost in like the conference finals.
Yeah.
So
They did
I
pretty
don't know.
well.
I just still feel like I hope in the Yarmo era, I hope kind of just like the forced bring random guys in and then they like
Yeah.
somehow work the way up to head coach after 3 years. I just hope that goes away anymore. So just brings in like I want this guy bringing in like this guy did a good job coaching like Roman Turek when I was with like the Blues. Like I want him like going deep in his bag with this team. Like I don't want him like just like bringing in like whoever ownership tells him to bring in because they liked him in an interview or something or they held the door open for Perry during the like. I just feel like I hope that aspect of the Sabres goes away and it's just they're just bringing in like hockey people.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, but let's remember that the Pagulas were burned by hockey people before.
But they brought in possibly the biggest hockey guy of all time in Jarmo
Yeah.
Kekäläinen. Like this guy just dialed into the game.
Speaking of Yarmo being in his bag, he is turning 60 on July 3rd. Assume maybe gets about 5 years ish, give or take, hopefully more, because the team's doing well. It's probably his last gig as a GM, if I had to guess.
No, I mean, if he does a decent job, GMs could go
Yeah.
to like their mid 70s with some of these
True.
guys.
He's starting to get up there, and so I feel like is like, look, man, like if you're every GM, every person that works in hockey wants to win a Stanley Cup. If this is what you want to do, like it's time to time to start really getting the traction going.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, if it
think
doesn't go well
keep
here, it's
your
hard
bag.
to think he'd get like another GM job. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
guess it
Yeah,
is true in
that's
that regard.
that's the thing. Yeah, if you can't if you can't make the Sabres good, like what you think I expect you to make my team good, kind of thing. So at the same time, it's just like it could be like it's a thankless job. Hey man, like you did your best with Buffalo. It's Buffalo. Come on over here and you'll be fine. So it's a double-edged sword kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, man, like this was not very structured. I feel like just like every episode, there's gonna be like 4 things that pop into my head the second I take out these earbuds and be like, I wish I said this, 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 and this. Um, wish I talked less and let Walt talk more. All the normal stuff after every episodes. um, But yeah, I think that's about it for now. It's more just like to be seen, and like this is one. It was a long time coming, needed to happen a long time ago. So it's like, congratulations, you did what you should have done a while ago. Two, it's
Probably
one
two
guy.
summers ago.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's one guy. How much is actually going to change? But there is some interest to see, like, kind of like, hey, who does he value more? Who does he not value more?
Yeah,
What
I will
happens?
bring up with that though, with like the one guy thing, just to bring that up. Like I do think for me the hope is that, it is just one guy, but I'm hoping this hiring like kind of signals a mindset shift in the Sabres organization where Terry's like, now I have a hockey guy that's made big decisions in the past. I could kind of step back a bit. I'm getting older now. I got the bills too. Like I
Yeah.
could step back and let hockey guys make hockey decisions.
Well, he's also needing to think about passing off the team at some point. Luckily Kim
Yeah.
is still with us, and he's probably looking like, look, I want to spend some more time with her. I'm sure he spends plenty of time with her, but trying to pass it off to his, I believe
His
his
daughter,
daughter.
yeah, Laura
Which,
Pagula has
so
been
does she
pretty
have both the
involved.
Bills, Sabres? We could talk about this later. Let's just
I
assume that
think
Laura
both.
is part on the Sabres. Okay, she has
I
both.
think both
Okay,
she's been a part of.
I'm working off that information, and so she might be like, hey man, like if you're gonna hand this off to me, like we got to get stuff rolling again, hit the ground running before it gets handed off to me, because like she might be smart enough to be like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So like let's get some people in here. So hopefully that's the case. Um I think like let's end it on a positive. Let's hope that's the case. That it's the first step. It's just one person, but it is the first step. Because like I said, I was really like, I've never been that down on the Sabres as I have been, especially after Alston got sent down. It was like, look, it's no longer about winning with this team. It never really was, and I've lied to myself thinking like, no, I still want to win. Yeah, I was really down. This helps. This helps a little bit. I'm actually like inspired to come back on and talk on the pod a few more times. Let's see if I actually choke on my own words next time. But I'll have water. I'll have water prepared next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, final thoughts, just kind of anything else that you wanted to chat about. It's been about an hour and 15, longer than we expected, but we're also just kind of hanging out. So
I mean, really, just I just feel like I'm more excited. Like I just feel like I'm more positive, more excited just about the rest of the season, even than just the next few games. I just feel like this is like a much needed like jolt of energy for the fan base because
for the players too, like
yeah,
this has to help
players
the
too.
players too. They let's put that out there too. Like that's got to help them. Sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah, I mean, just switching things up, I just feel like was so big, and it's great to see that they finally made this change because this felt like the one change that was like impossible. Like, I feel like this guy is here for the rest of his life at some point, especially his past off season too, where it's like there's no way after the season they had they could bring this guy back, and it's like,
And then they did, yeah.
all right, yeah, they're bringing him back. So I just feel like this, as a Sabres fan, is just like hopefully the organizational mindset has shifted. Hopefully this isn't kind of like a dictatorship or just a corrupt organization like run by people that don't know what they're doing. Like hopefully go back to being just a normal NHL team. I would take
That's
we don't need to be a dynasty, it's a normal NHL team.
that my thing is like I said earlier, it's like you threw an air ball, Terry. At this point, you just want to hit some stuff. Like you hired someone that has experience the first time since 1979 and Scotty Bowman. That's crazy. That's crazy. And like some guys that didn't have experience before had some success. Look at Regier and stuff like that, or some others in the past where they've made it pretty far into playoffs or made the playoffs, multiple times. Fair enough. But finally got someone with the experience. At least you hit the rim. You might not have swooshed this one. Maybe you did. I don't know. But at least you hit the rim. Okay. You hit something. You touched something here. So to go over a couple last things. We always appreciate people that are leaving comments. Jeff, you were going off tonight. Really appreciate that. Want to incentivize people to continue to do that. So let's run down the rest of the chats and just kind of sign off like a normal live stream like we would, finishing those off. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention while I'm kind of going through these as well about the two? But you said just hopefully marks a new era for the team. It's a positive going forward. Good first step.
Yeah, I think good first step. Kind of reminds me of, I think when Terry Bula bought the team, their first game was against like the Thrashers. Kind of reminds me. It's giving me that type of vibes right now. Yeah,
Been that long,
even though that kind of marked like the end of the Sabres as we know it. So it's giving me that vibes, but in a positive way. I think they could turn it around with a refreshed look on this organization.
That is true. I will say, I think there's who was I listening to that says teams after a long road trip and then their first home game, it usually does not go very well. So that's the one thing, like if it doesn't go well, like I would hope people don't get on the team too hard. Like they did make the change too late, but they did make the change, thank God. And they did just come off a long road trip, and it's the Buffalo Sabres. They hit 500. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to lose. So hopefully they don't. I would very much like to beat Philadelphia so I can rub it in some friend's face. But let's go over some. Power has two flaws to me: zone entry denials and his play around the net. Two things they can definitely be coached. Yeah, especially his play around the net. I think it's just like the fire inside of him. If he had more of it, I think would help as well. Walt, don't do it. Don't laugh at me again. Like it's marginal. I'm not saying he doesn't have any.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying I feel like it doesn't show up on the stat sheet as much as like people.
It shows up in my eyes where I'm just like, come on, man. Okay,
it's because he plays so much. Like other guys play less and they give up.
Well, he is on the third pairing now with Bryson because, like,
yeah, I guess.
Which then there's another thing because like Byram and Timmins is like kind of falling off too. We'll talk about that later on. There's plenty of season to go that we'll talk about there, but I'll try to shelf the power thing now too. I'll try to really hone in on him in the next couple games and watch him just to see if I'm really being overreactive. But we finally have something we disagree on. Look at me. Like a kid on Christmas. This is fun. What else do we got here? George would murder Jack Quinn. I don't know if that will get us demonetized. Not like we have monetization or anything anyway, but just wanted to throw that out there and should hand it off to the person that made the infamous hat design. Probably
those hats were legendary. Point, right? They gotta bring some of those. I remember the one that had like, was it like melted ice on it or whatever?
Yeah, it was the worst thing ever. It was like the Buffalo slug.
You probably saw one of those on eBay now for like $100. That like became a part of like Sabres Twitter lore.
You're gonna walk into some person that's like 15 years old right now, but like super in to the Sabres. 30 years from now, you're gonna walk into their basement and one of those glass cases that usually have those signed basketballs in, it's just gonna be one of those hats. It's just gonna be one of those icicle hats.
Wegmans in like 2021.
Oh gosh.
Purchase on like the Transit Road Wegmans in 2020, maybe like 2021.
Not good. Not good. Drop. You gotta respect someone taking a shot out there with their hat designs, but that one was a whiff. So I will say shout out to Walt's hat design. He's wearing Philly Fanatic, and shout out to the Phillies. We are officially losing Walt on his connection. So I think that is a good place for us to stop. Bip, this is also a good place for you to stop because absolutely freaking not. That's not going to happen under my watch, pal. So those were the worst. Walt, any last words before we hop off here? I think his last words are he is gone. His internet is finally crapped out. And
my laptop's dying.
Laptop's dying. We appreciate you guys checking us out. We will be back with more episodes, especially after the holidays. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.